Believe your son is safe? I will find him. I will reclaim!
Hi, this is Simon Canlish and welcome to another Marvelous Videos. When it comes to the DC comic universe, this Kryptonian super antagonist is definitely the talk of the town. General Zod has made a mark as one of Superman's most iconic enemies, alongside Darkseid, Brainiac and Lex Luthor. George Papp and Robert Bernstein created this megalomaniac supervillain to demonstrate the same strength, powers and abilities as the Man of Steel, which gave him the benefit of placing himself as Superman's equivalent in every form. General Zod made his first comic book appearance in April 1961 under Adventure Comics issue number 283 and became pretty popular amongst DC Universe enthusiasts for his peppy catchphrases. Kneel before the Zod.
Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod!
For decades, we've been witnessing Zod being a true headache for Superman with his diabolical master plans, and this video will intricately explore the unfathomable depths of depraved malevolence this antagonist delved into during his comic book run. So without any further delays, let's jump right into the video and understand the complexity of this evil entity up close. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks, and let's begin. Exploring the origins and backstory of General Zod. The Zod family have always been a steering wheel for the military council in Krypton. While it is the House of El that retains its staple position within the Scientist Guild of Krypton, eons ago, Zod's namesake and ancestor, Admiral Drew Zod, delegated the military council, which held immense power prior to when the Kryptonian Science Council took over and led Krypton to become a powerful empire that even dominated galaxies. Eventually, this dynasty came to an end when the Science Council, led by Bav Sorel, coaxed the residents of Krypton to reflect on the lack of morality of the current ruling empire, resulting in the defeat of Zod and the ousting of his military council amidst elections. As a result, the Kryptonian Navy was disbanded, with the exception of Drew Zod's ship, which later played a major role in Superman's life. The military was then assigned to peacekeeping duties on the base of Krypton, but the Zods continued to serve in this capacity. Now, coming to just a number of months before Krypton's destruction, Jor-El persuaded his mentor, friend, and intellectual equal, Non, to believe that the planet they lived in was in grave danger. Despite the warnings of two of the most esteemed scholars and savants on Krypton, the council refused to take any action and even forbade further discussion on the matter, while Jor-El persisted in fighting a lost battle of trying to persuade the Kryptonian Council. Non took it upon himself to share the information with the public. Non's actions were seen as wayward and rebellious, and in response, the council ordered General Zod, their most formidable commander, to eliminate him. However, Zod was ultimately persuaded by Non's agenda and came to believe that Krypton was indeed waiting for its impending doom. Zod's trusted lieutenant and lover, Ursa, also joined the cause of taking a step towards saving the planet. Now, this insurrection was met with swift action by the council, who took Non by force and performed a lobotomy on him. Following this, they also arrested and sent the three defectors of his uprising to the Phantom Zone, as requested by Jor-El. Here's how that happened. In exchange for a less severe punishment for his friends that would prevent their incarceration, Jor-El agreed to stop trying to persuade the council. However, Zod believed that the only solution to save Krypton from its inevitable fate was to overthrow the Kryptonian Council and take control of the planet. Unfortunately, their ill-designed but violent escape plan was unsuccessful, but resulted in several members of the council being killed. Despite Zod's view that Jor-El was a coward for accepting the council's verdict and administering the punishment, the verdict remained in place as the council's decision was final. As a result, Jor-El banished the three defectors to the Phantom Zone. Before being banished, Zod vowed to return back to Krypton and reign over it as its ruler, post which he would force Jor-El and his son to kneel before him and be his slaves, as he was to the Council of Krypton. Now, Zod had existed since the Silver Age of comics to this very day in the modern day. This megalomaniacal Kryptonian is typically portrayed as a tall, muscular man with a commanding presence. He is often depicted wearing a black military-style uniform with a high collar and a red crest on his chest. General Zod has a strong, chiseled jawline and sharp facial features, with piercing eyes and a stern expression. The specific details of Zod's appearance may vary story and have evolved depending on the portrayal and adaptation of the character in various media, such as films, television shows, and comic books. The Incredible Tale of Russian Zod. Originally, the Russian Zod was introduced as the third attempt to bring Zod to modern-age comics, with the benefit of heavily intertwining this origin story to that of Superman. This version of General Zod was born in Russia to two Russian cosmonauts whose ship was adversely affected by kryptonite radiation while they were close to Kal-El's rocket ship. This little boy was named Avrushkin, but as an unborn child, his Russian parents codenamed him Zed. This boy was born fatally weak and got unnaturally weaker under a yellow sun. Ironically, when he was exposed to a red sun radiation, he was automatically superpowered, unlike Superman. After the tragic demise of his parents who were irradiated by kryptonite, Zed grew up in a KGB laboratory. Heavily inspired by the spirit of Zod from the Time Trapper's world, he was motivated to turn the yellow sun red and created a suit of red armor that filtered the sunlight coming from it. After gaining an inexplicable amount of power, Zod, or Zed, declared himself as a ruler of Pokliastan, a fictional former Soviet state. Following this, he faced Superman in several clashes, and eventually it was revealed that after turning the sun red, he would acquire Superman's place and overthrow him. Now, Zod temporarily succeeded in this diabolical plan until Lex Luthor unexpectedly rescued Superman by giving him a blast of yellow solar radiation to regain his powers, and both together worked to restore the sun. Although Superman refused to kill Zod, but of course, a vengeful Zod, who was now vulnerable due to the sun turning yellow again, struck Superman with all his powers at super speed and got himself killed as a result of Superman's invulnerability. Some of his other memorable comic storybook arcs. Counting Zod's appearances in various Superman titles, as well as in other DC comic series and crossover events, it is safe to say that he has appeared in over hundreds of issues and storylines and has been part of a number of major comic book story arcs. In this video, we will focus on General Zod's most exquisite and memorable comic book story arcs. The diabolical role of General Zod in the Pocket Universe. In the DC Comics Pocket Universe, popularly known as the Earth 15, General Zod had a very complex character arc that usually differed from the traditional portrayals of his character in other versions of the Superman mythos. In this storyline, General Zod and two other Kryptonian criminals, Quetzal and Zaora, were released from the Phantom Zone by Superboy, who met his demise in the process. They took over the Time Trapper's Pocket universe and began a reign of terror, killing nearly all of the inhabitants of Earth in that universe. Now, this specific story arc was titled as Superman the Phantom Zone and was set in a pocket universe that was created by the Time Trapper, a villain in the larger DC Comics continuity. This pocket universe is separate from the primary DC Comics universe and features a different version of the Superman character, as well as different versions of other characters and events. Coming back to the story, Superman was sent to stop the ever-terrifying Zod and his team of Kryptonian bandits, but failed to defeat them, with his powers progressively being weakened by the Pocket's universe red sun. After witnessing the devastation and havoc wreaked by Zod and his accomplices, Superman made the difficult decision to execute them using kryptonite. This act haunted Superman and took a toll on his conscience, which led him to swear never to take another life again. The storyline had significant ramifications for Superman mythos, as it introduced the concept of the Phantom Zone as a place to imprison Kryptonian criminals and demonstrated the consequences of Superman's actions, where he was forced to take a life. A different character arc of Zod in New Krypton. This story arc began with the release of Zod from the Phantom Zone, when Kandor, the true city of Krypton, was discovered by Kal-El and released on Earth. They realized that almost 600 soldiers were still fiercely loyal to Zod and were among the Kryptonians inside it. Commander Gore and Lieutenant Mur, two of Zod's soldiers, believed that Zod's actions were probably justified and that Kal-El had no right to stop him. They attempted to free Zod from the Phantom Zone, but were stopped by the new Nightwing and Flamebird when they entered the Fortress of Solitude. Following this, Allura, the mother of Supergirl and widow of Zor-El, made a pact with Zod and his followers, releasing them from the captivity of the Phantom Zone and allowing him to become the true power behind the Kryptonian forces on New Krypton. Undetected by common population of Kandor, General Zod managed to become the true leader of the Kryptonians on New Krypton. He only revealed his presence to the people after New Krypton had stopped orbiting around Sol. On the other hand, as the dispute with Earth escalated, Zod accused Ashadel, Nar and Kal-El, aka Superman, of treason when they refrained from executing a criminal. Post this, both Both of them were put on trial and accused of treason by Zod, who of course had a personal feud and aversiveness against the House of El. When Kal-El pleaded guilty, Zod allowed him to take a route to escape, but naturally Superman did not take it. On the next day of the trial, despite Zod's accusations, Kal-El was cleared of his charges. When Superman saved Zod from an assassination attack from a random Kryptonian at the parade, he was dubbed as the new general in charge of the military guard at New Krypton. After Zod had barely recovered from his wound, he reached just in time to save Superman, Ty-Van and Adam Strange from being executed. He teamed up with Superman to work together to stop Krypton's last traitor and arrest him after they successfully provoked him into confessing his crimes. When Kal-El and Zod were discussing the significant changes in New Krypton after the Labor Guild were added to the council, Brainiac attacked New Krypton and they teamed up to foil all of his plans. Throughout this storyline, Zod's story arc is marked by his desire to assert his authority and his conflict with Superman. He's a complex and compelling character who represents a different perspective on Kryptonian culture and its relationship to other worlds. Zod's actions have significant consequences for the Kryptonians and their relationship with Earth, and this eventual defeat marks a turning point in the story. The one where General Zod joins the Superman Revenge Squad. This particular plot was popularly termed as the Revenge Arc in the Superman comic book series. The story featured a stranded General Zod in the Phantom Zone after his last confrontation with Superman. Here Zod was approached by a cyborg version of Superman who convinced him to join his Superman Revenge Squad to take down the Man of Steel once and for all. Zod agreed and the team was formed, consisting of Hank Henshaw, the original cyborg Superman, Eradicator 2, a new version of the Eradicator, Ursa, Zod's wife, and their son, Zod. And the team made its way to Earth and began attacking various targets, including the Fortress of Solitude, the Daily Planet, and Metropolis itself. Superman and his allies, including his son John Kent and Supergirl, fought back against the Revenge Squad, but were eventually overthrown and overwhelmed in turn and sent into the Phantom Zone. While in the Phantom Zone, Zod sent Hank and Eradicator 2 on a mission to retrieve his army from the zone. However, Eradicator 2 was actually following his own secret orders to find his wife Ursa and son Zod, who were being hunted by an unknown force. Eradicator 2 managed to find the two and bring them to Zod. Meanwhile, Superman and his allies were working to escape the Phantom Zone. They eventually succeeded, but not before Zod betrayed the Superman Revenge Squad and had a physical confrontation with John Kent. The group escaped the Phantom Zone and ended up on the planet Jakul, where Zod, Zod, Ursa, and Eradicator 2 began working to rebuild a new version of Krypton. What makes General Zod so powerful? General Zod had similar potential powers as any other Kryptonian under the activated effects of a yellow sun. These powers include the ability to absorb solar energy, which is stored to be used later, and the power to shoot beams of extremely intense and fierce heat from his eyes, known as heat vision. Zod also has superhuman hearing, which makes him capable of hearing any sound at any pitch or volume, and an enhanced vision that allows him to process the entire spectrum of electromagnetism, alongside enabling him to look at things from great distances at a telescopic vision rate. With the exception of lead, he can see through any volume or breadth or matter, aided by his X-ray vision, along with extremely tiny objects down to an undetectable level, and he has infrared vision, which allows him to see with a better precision in the darkness. Like Superman, General Zod can also fly by manipulating gravitation particles to go against the gravitational forces to achieve flight, and is highly invulnerable to extreme force of energy, toxins, and diseases due to the interaction of his highly charged bioelectric aura and impenetrable molecular structure. Alongside this, yellow solar radiation amplifies Zod's strength, enabling him to carry out physical accomplishments that go beyond the simple use of pressure or force, such as moving the top of a mountain without the rock giving way under its own weight. He is also capable of moving at mind-blowing speeds, allowing him to catch hold of bullets in midair and cover huge distances in little or almost no time. Apart from all of this, Zod can also make hurricane-force winds just by breathing out air from his lungs, chill the air to freeze his targets, and can pull in large volumes of vapor or air inside his lungs. In addition to his powers, Zod has a plethora of distinctive abilities. He's an advanced hand-to-hand combatant, having trained in combat for many years. As a trained warrior, General Zod is not averse thirst towards killing. He also possesses an analytical mind, trained from childhood to raise tiny genetic animals and use this knowledge to fool the entirety of Krypton and incite a war. Apart from this, having been forced to survive on his own for a year as a child after his parents were murdered on a scientific exploration, he has mastered impeccable survival skills under high-pressure situations. Zod is also skilled in the use of weaponry, having used primitive arrows and bows as a child, small-sized artillery as a soldier, and a plethora of other significant weapons made in Krypton throughout his military career on the planet. He is also fluent in both English and Kryptonian, which makes him bilingual.
So, he is a coward after all.
Terence Stamp played the role in Superman 1978 and Superman 2 1981. The great Terence Stamp played the role of General Zod in the 1978 film Superman, the movie, directed by Richard Donner. In this plot, General Zod was a Kryptonian military leader who, along with his accomplices Ursa and Non, was banished to the Phantom Zone by Jor-El, Superman's father, for attempting to overthrow the Kryptonian government. However brief his cameo may be, Terence Stamp's portrayal of General Zod was widely praised by critics and audiences alike. His commanding presence and commanding voice lent a sense of menace to the character. The fans applauded his brief role in the movie, which automatically set him up for a bigger comeback as the film's main antagonist in the next sequel released in 1980, titled Superman 2, which was directed by Richard Lester. The film continues the story arc of General Zod's attempt to conquer Earth and rule over its inhabitants. In Superman 2, General Zod and his accomplices Ursa and Non are again freed from the Phantom Zone by a nuclear explosion caused by Superman. After their escape, they arrive on Earth and begin wreaking havoc, whilst demanding the entire planet to surrender to their rule. Once again, in this movie's climax, General Zod engages in an iconic battle with Superman, this time in the Fortress of Solitude. Terence Stamp's portrayal of General Zod in Superman 2 is similarly praised for its authoritative presence and intimidating qualities. Fans raved about the scintillating presence of such a super villain, powerful enough to give the Man of Steel a run for his powers. His interactions with his accomplices and the Superman are intense and engaging, making him a memorable villain in the Superman film franchise. It's worth noting that there were significant behind-the-scenes changes made during the production of Superman 2, including the replacement of original director Richard Donner with Richard Lester, which resulted in some changes to the film's tone and structure. Nevertheless, Terence Stamp's performance as General Zod remained a commendable standout element of the film. Michael Shannon plays a different version of General Zod in Man of Steel 2013 and The Flash 2023. Michael Shannon played the role of General Zod in the 2013 film Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder. Like all the original Superman films, Man of Steel tells the story of Superman's origins and his battle against an egomaniacal Kryptonian military leader named General Zod. In Man of Steel, General Zod is portrayed as a genetically engineered warrior who, after the destruction of Krypton, seeks to establish a new Krypton on Earth by eradicating the planet's existing inhabitants. He tracks down Superman on Earth as part of his natural quest for revenge from the House of El, and demands that he turns himself over to Zod or subject himself to face the irreversible consequences. The conflict between General Zod and Superman in Man of Steel is physically more intense and violent than in the earlier films, with a heavy emphasis on action and special effects. Michael Shannon's portrayal of General Zod was praised for its intensity and commitment, with the actor bringing a sense of hostility and desperation to the character. In particular, Shannon's performance in a scene where he delivers a monologue about his motivations and goals has been widely praised as a highlight of the film. The monologue takes place when General Zod is interrogating Lois Lane, who has been captured by Zod's forces. He explains to Lois that he was bred to be a warrior and that his sole purpose in life is to protect Krypton, which he considers to be the pinnacle of evolutionary progress, and goes on to reveal that he and his fellow Kryptonians were genetically engineered to be superior beings, and that they were designed to reshape other planets and civilizations in Krypton's image. This monologue came to be known as a powerful moment in the film and became a key part of Michael Shannon's portrayal of General Zod. Overall, Shannon's General Zod in Man of Steel came off as a formidable and memorable opponent for Superman, and his performance helped to make the film a success at the box office. His intensity and commitment to the role helped him gain immense popularity amongst all the Superman enthusiasts. The recent Flash trailer also featured the return of Michael Shannon as General Zod after the character's hiatus exodus from the DC universe from a whooping decade. We are all very eager to watch Shannon bring back his poise, menace, and grim through the character of General Zod after so many years. The upcoming The Flash movie has generated a lot of excitement among the DC fans, and it will be interesting to see how the filmmakers explore the concept of the multiverse and bring together characters from different versions of the DC universe, allowing them to exist simultaneously. This could potentially open up the door for crossovers with other DC properties in the future. In addition to Ezra Miller returning as the Flash, the film is set to feature Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck as alternate versions of Batman, as well as Sasha Calle as Supergirl. The new Flash film is directed by Andy Muschietti and suggests that the film will be based on the Flashpoint storyline. The movie's plot will center around Barry Allen, who uses his superpowers to travel back in time and change the events of the past in order to save his family. However, his actions inadvertently alter the future, creating a reality in which General Zod has returned and there are no superheroes to turn to for help. To set things right and save the world, Barry must coax a retired Batman out of retirement and rescue an imprisoned Kryptonian, although it may not be the one he is looking for. The movie's trailer further suggests that the alternate reality Barry finds himself in is vastly different from his own, and that he may need to make the ultimate sacrifice in order to reset the universe and return to his own reality. Overall, it seems that the Flash movie will be an exciting and action-packed adventure, and the fans of DC Universe can look forward to seeing their favorite heroes and villains in the new and unexpected ways as the film delves into the multiverse and the consequences of time travel. Major Zod as seen in Smallville. Major Zod was a character in the TV show Smallville, which aired from 2001 to 2011. In the show, Zod was a Kryptonian military leader who was sent to Earth alongside his soldiers aboard a ship that had been buried for thousands of years. Upon awakening, Zod and his soldiers found themselves stranded on Earth and began searching for a way to escape and conquer new territories. Major Zod was portrayed by Callum Blue, with Sam Witwer providing his initial appearance in an uncredited role. This version of Zod was a resident of Kandor and devised Doomsday along with his wife Farora, as they longed for the perfect son after learning that she was infertile even prior to their imprisonment in the Phantom Zone as ethereal wraiths. Zod was indirectly mentioned in previous seasons by his disciples Aether and Namek after Brainiac's failed attempt at turning Lex Luthor into a vessel to hold Zod, and post the emergence of Doomsday on Earth. The 9th season witnessed a powerless clone of Zod among the other Kryptonian soldiers, which was created by Tess Mercer using the Kryptonian device called the Orb. Although Clark Kent tried to help the clones coexist in harmony, Zod's powers were gradually revived. Zod then plotted to conquer Earth, but Kent exposed the truth of Feora's death, turning the clones against him. Kent sent them to New Krypton, an uninhabited planet where they could finally establish a Kryptonian colony. In the 10th season episode, Dominion, the clones banished the clone Zod and his loyalists to Phantom Zone, where he fused with the original Zod while maintaining both versions' memories. He lured Kent and Oliver Queen to the Phantom Zone, but they escaped and destroyed the exit, ensuring Zod and his followers could not escape. Overall, this version of Zod was a formidable enemy to Clark Kent, but he was ultimately defeated by his former allies' strength and determination. And with this, we come to the very end of this video. From making small, powerful cameos to dominating larger comic book arcs within the DC universe, General Zod has really proved to be a fiercely powerful and narcissistic antagonist, qualified enough to stand at par with Superman and look him in the eye. Every appearance he makes is jam-packed with action, adventure, violence, and drama. So please let us know in the comment box below about your favorite story arc from the multiple appearances and the different versions of the diabolical General Zod in the past decades. And of course, if you liked our content, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.